channel was provided by viewers like you. Thank you.
Previously on the Lazy Bedhead Show.
Okay, so first of all. Please don't make me. I don't want to talk about this one. Can we skip it? Please, can we skip it? Because I don't want to talk about this one. This one's really bad. This one's so fucking bad. This is the worst one. I don't want to talk about it. Can we literally talk about anything else? Please, just skip. No? Okay. Fine. This is Hellraiser Revelations, aka the worst piece of shit movie I've ever seen in my entire goddamn life. You know, I was happy. You know, I was stress-free. I was at the top of my fucking game. And then this movie happened to me. And now I wish I were in hell. This movie is by far the worst Hellraiser movie. It was painful. This is worse than Hellseeker, worse than Deader, worse than Bloodline. This one was just... I wish I were drunk or high. This movie follows two families that are shaken up by the disappearance of their sons, Nico Bradley and Stephen Craven.
My name is Nico Bradley, and this is my best friend, Stephen Craven. We're about to get laid multiple times over.
I'm sorry, I just threw up a little bit in my mouth.
The plan is to get your dick wet.
This movie actually does start off rather interesting, as it starts with a found footage style from the camera that once belonged to Steve before he went missing. There's even a found footage scene of the two of them solving the box, and Pinhead shows up. And that's actually kind of fucking cool. I think Hellraiser would be cool as a found footage movie. I mean, it would be kind of hard to do, but I think if done right, it'd be kind of fucking sick. But we don't get that for very long, as we cut to Steven's mom, Sarah, watching the footage, which, like, this is like evidence of their deaths. Like, why do you still have this? I think that should remain in evidence, should it not? Whatever. So her daughter Emma calls her down for dinner, where we meet her husband, Ross, which I have watched this movie like twice. I could not remember a time that his name was uttered once.
Oh, you know, she has some days better than others. She's not exactly her old self, but...
Go on, Ross.
I swear, I thought his name was something generic, like Jake or something. We also meet Nico's parents, Kate and Peter. This is apparently supposed to be a year after they disappeared, but they never say that ever. I was actually under the impression, based on how this dinner scene goes, that this was like less than a month after or something. Emma is pretty upset that everyone just is kind of moving on from the fact that her brother and her ex-boyfriend just kind of disappeared. And she wants to see the videotape that her mom was watching. She does sneak the camcorder and watches the videos recorded by her brother. We cut from scenes of the boys' video to flashbacks of what they were doing when the video was taken. Basically, Nico and Steve are taking a trip to Mexico, and they're partying and drinking and having sex with whatever random girls they find. On this particular night, they pick up a prostitute from the bar by shoving their stupid camera in her face. It's fine, they were drunk. It's not like they're taking advantage of a girl who doesn't speak English by shoving a camera in her face without her permission. Aren't these two just so precious? After Nico has sex with her and Steve records it like an asshole, they both wake up hungover and she's dead. Okay, whatever. So they don't call the cops and leave. And Nico says the most insensitive, racist bullshit.
Life's cheap down here. It's probably something like 100 killings a week. She's already just a number.
I can't wait to watch you die. They're approached by this random homeless man who gives them a puzzle box. The whole time, Steve just wants to go home and not mess with it, but Nico calls him a pussy beta and makes him film them solving the box. So they solve the box and catch Pinhead on camera, which would be a cool scene, except this is what Pinhead looks like. let's be nice, because this is the first Hellraiser movie that doesn't have Doug Bradley coming back as Pinhead. So obviously, they just have to settle for whatever bald guy they can find. You know, maybe I'm just spoiled by his performance and his delivery and just how he makes this character so iconic. I get that this is gonna be like really, really hard to come even close to this level of icon, right? But this is what they do, and this is Stephen Smith Collins. And look, I know he was trying his hardest, and the material that he was given is interesting with like the scenes he gets to do. The thing is, and this is not at all his fault, right? He just looks so silly.
Birth is pain. Each nail, each new square of flesh ranges you further from the flaccid existence you knew before.
Like, why are your eyes just like bulging out of your head, bro? Like, chill out. Okay, so let's talk about this on a technical level and not like on a physical level with his appearance and the fact that his mouth is so small and it's so close to his nose and his eyes are bugging out his face. I'm sorry, I know I'm being mean, but no, seriously, can we talk about like on a technical level why this doesn't work? It doesn't work because of two things. One, the costume is fucking cheap looking. Like, I know mine looks cheap looking, but that's because I'm poor. You can literally see the whole thing like just folding in on itself, and it's like that false leather, like leather, imitation leather type stuff. I swear to God, it just looks like he's wearing a padded leather biker jacket. You know what makes Pinhead like so cool as a character? It's the fact that his clothes always felt like it was a part of his skin. See how like he has all these peeled and exposed pieces that are kind of like woven into his outfit? It makes it look like it's part of his body. Whatever this is just some Batman and Robin type like suit shit, but no bat nipples, which I'm so thankful for. Thank God we didn't get Pinhead fucking bat nipples. The second reason this doesn't work is because Pinhead's voice has always been like ethereal. Like, it is so iconic. It sounds like his voice is projecting in like an empty church. That is the voice of pure evil. And this guy, he's not really doing an impression. He just kind of sounds like a guy.
Human names, human memories, they have no place nor meaning in our existence.
Anyways, after watching the clips on the camcorder, Emma finds the puzzle box that was in the videos in Steve's bag and immediately starts fucking with it, even though she has seen video evidence as to why doing that would be a bad idea. This isn't like Deader where someone is like, hey, so you shouldn't fuck with that box, but I'm not gonna tell you why, which will make you curious enough to ignore what I have to say and fuck with it anyways. No. This is tangible evidence that fucking with this box is a bad idea and leads to terrible consequences. And you still fuck with it? What are you, fucking stupid? I swear to God, I would absolutely survive a Hellraiser movie. Those two things that this girl lacks will come in clutch when I need it. Common sense. And honestly, I am just not ready to have to confront whether this turns me on or not. Doing this summons her brother. I guess he's alive. I mean, he didn't solve the box, so I guess he wouldn't have been affected. But like, where the fuck did you come from? And why immediately after she fucks with this box? Like, were you trapped in there or something? Like what? Steve is all fucked up, so they let him rest. Meanwhile, they realize that not only are their phones disconnected, but also their cars are gone because they didn't have the budget. Pinhead's really out here playing GTA in real life.
You on the way?
No, phone's not working. Mine's dead. Try my cell.
No signal, that's why we keep a landline.
Or, you know, you could have just taken your cell phone, walked down the street, wait till you've gotten a signal. Is no one going to try? Emma is fucking with the box some more, and Steve is outside talking about some whack shit.
They're coming.
And once again, they just name drop the Cenobites twice.
The Cenobites.
So, Cenobite.
And this is where I feel like I need to say something about this. I don't have an issue with these movies giving these things like a name, but when it's said in this, it bothers me. It bothers me because this movie feels like a Hellraiser fan movie rather than an actual installment. It has the lowest budget with $300,000 to work with, which explains the cheap costume because they just didn't have that good SFX money, I guess. And I doubt that the word Cenobite even comes from their universe. In fact, the word Cenobite is described as a member of a religious group that lives together in a community. Which I guess describes these things, maybe. So we just kind of like took a Greek word that already exists in the human language and just kind of slapped them onto these things. It always feels like the movies that have like nothing to do with Clive Barker have to over-explain themselves and be like, look, I understand the Hellraiser series, I'm one of it, look, it's me, Cenobite, woo! You know, it just feels like they're trying too hard, you know what I mean? The only reason that it works in the first movie is because Frank has been researching the box and knows of its mythos. It also works in Hellworld because the context is that the Cenobites are video game characters. In this universe, where all of it is just a video game, it makes sense because the creators of the game have to refer to them as something. But anyways, Steve is starting to feel a little better after his mental breakdown and starts reconnecting with his family. And this is the part where I knew this was gonna be ranked the lowest one because it gets so fucking weird. Peter is trying to fuck with the box, but he can't open it, so Emma explains how she got it to work in the horniest way I have ever seen.
You're trying too hard.
Really?
If you try to force it, then nothing happens. You have to just let go. You have to desire it.
Emma.
You sick bastard. Now show me on the doll where she touched you. She takes Soup upstairs to her brother and they get to talking. And then... I don't even know what to say. Like, what the Oh my god, fucking why? Like, guys, what are we doing? Whoever let their incest fetish sneak into this movie, take them out back, make them solve this, and let it play out. Oh my god. Whoops. Because that is a sick bitch. There's this scene where the two dads go outside and the homeless man that gave them the box is just standing out there. And since Peter is a bit of a hothead thus far, he shoots him. Only for him to immediately rise back up and skin his face off. So, is the homeless guy a Cenobite? Because that doesn't make any goddamn sense. Where the fuck did he come from? Who even is this guy? Also, Russ, buddy, your friend is getting skinned alive right now. Why are you just fucking standing there? Do something! Well, fuck, I guess Peter's dead now. Then, out of fucking nowhere, Steve has a complete personality switch and becomes Dylan Klebold. You cannot convince me that's not what they were going for.
I'm guessing you're all a little confused right now.
Shut the fuck up! I hate this shithole. Nowhere town. We both hated it. That's why we left. We simply had to get the fuck out of this bullshit Generica.
He shoots his dad in the stomach and starts having a fucking Joker moment. Apparently, Ross got what he fucking deserved, as it is revealed that he and Kate have been having an affair the whole time.
I'm talking about you, fucking Stevie's dad. I know. We both knew. Hell, it was one of the reasons we decided to fly the fucking coop.
Which there is no indication of this at all. It's just sort of like dropped out of nowhere, like, oh, by the way, you know these two characters that had like literally one scene where they're speaking to each other? Yeah, apparently they've been fucking the whole time. Like, there is no build up to this, but apparently there was an affair the whole time, and that's the reason why Nico and fucking Steve go to Mexico. But like, You didn't even hint that at all. What are you doing? Also, this whole thing where apparently this is the catalyst to why Nico and Steve go to Mexico, that doesn't even really make any sense because they were vacationing. I got no indication that they were gonna like move down there and live there forever. It's like this movie like forgot like essential plot points in the middle of the goddamn movie. Even worse of a twist than that, it turns out that Steve isn't Steve.
What's the matter, Mother? Don't you recognize your dear, precious boy?
What have you done with my son?
I haven't done anything.
But those boyish good looks that I now possess, no, they're all gone, I'm afraid.
It's apparently Nico the whole time. Apparently, Nico somehow escaped from Pinhead and the Cenobites. Sort of like how Frank escaped, but it's not explained how he knew how to do this. Now he's just walking around as like the skinless guy, and he makes Steve kill prostitutes in order for him to fully escape and get his skin back. But after Nico kills some prostitute's baby, Steve is having some second thoughts. He decides to leave him and go home, only for Nico to hit him over the head, take his skin, and leave with the box. Okay, so what? First of all, that doesn't even make a lick of fucking sense, because if Steve was left with the box in Mexico, how the fuck is it here now? Also, this is so fucking dumb. Like, you're making out with your ex-girlfriend and groping her as if she's like your girlfriend, but you are wearing the skin of her brother. Like, you're the one that's making it weird. So he demands that Emma solves the box because he wants to exchange her for his freedom. But Pinhead is like, nah, you're mine, dickhead.
You have a darkness that rivals my own, Nico. It will be a very special pleasure to rip you apart.
Okay, but aside from Nico just being a fucking idiot who absolutely deserves to be, like, tortured, why? Like, you traded with Kirsty. Do you just really fucking hate Nico? Because same bestie, same.
Steven.
Human names, human memories, they have no place nor meaning in our existence.
Wait, why? What are you talking about? Someone showed you a picture of yourself and you fucking buckled. So I guess I should explain what the hell this is. This is called Pseudo Pinhead, and he exists because Steve solved the box after getting skinned alive, which doesn't make sense because if Peter, who gets his whole face skinned off, just immediately dies from a seizure, how is he able to solve the box? It's stupid. It doesn't matter. Steve most likely would have just been dead long before being able to solve the box, but why would you do this? Like, you knew what would happen when you opened the box, so why did you think that solving it was going to help you in any way? I mean, I guess it did, but like, look at you now. You are one ugly looking motherfucker. So Pinhead kills Nico, his mom, and Sarah for some reason. All people who did not touch the box, by the way. Even though Emma solved the box, everyone but her gets taken by the Cenobites. And I guess Ross dies from his gunshot. And that's the end. That's it. That's the fucking, that's the end of the fucking movie. Oh my god! I'm gonna be calm. I'm gonna relax. I'm gonna try and be understanding because, I mean, I can scream about this movie and how fucking shitty it is, but I think it would be more productive to understand what went wrong here. So I want to read a quote directly from Doug Bradley himself as to why he decided not to participate in this film, because I think it says a lot. I know that many of you have been caught up with the sudden burst of internet chatter about the new Hellraiser film going into production, and will be keen to know whether I've been approached to play Pinhead again. So here's the deal. I have been approached just in the last week regarding a proposed new Hellraiser film. This is not the remake, which has been endlessly discussed for the last 3 years. With the working title Hellraiser Revelations, it will be the 9th film in the series. I would like to stress that I have had no contact from or negotiations with anyone from Dimension Films. Rather, these contacts have been by way of private discussions with individuals involved with the project. Following these discussions and after reading the script and giving it due consideration, I have decided not to participate. The ink is barely dry on the script, and it's scheduled to be in front of the cameras in 2 weeks' time, and in the can by the middle of next month. The minuscule shooting schedule is more than matched by the budget. Whether or not this means that somebody else will be stepping up to play Pinhead, I have no idea. I guess we can watch this space together. One way or another, this does not seem to me to represent a serious attempt to revive the Hellraiser franchise. However, I wish everyone who will be directly involved in the making of this film the best of luck. I mean, dude, when Pinhead himself is saying that this doesn't seem like a legitimate attempt to revive the Hellraiser series, that's like your god denying you entry into heaven. And if you thought that that was bad, here's what Clive had to say about it on Twitter. I have nothing to do with the fucking thing. If they claim it's from the mind of Clive Barker, it's a lie. It's not even from my butthole.
I need TV for my bunghole.
I am the great Clive Barker. I'm sorry, I'm terrible. One critic describes this film as a Hellraiser mockbuster that could be confused as a movie made by the Asylum. And if you've seen Asylum movies, that seems pretty accurate. So here's what happened. The Weinsteins were losing their rights to Hellraiser soon. They needed to utilize it to extend their rights to it. So they forced this movie into existence. But it's been like 6 years, and the last movie was Hellworld, and that wasn't profitable at all. Plus, it had been like 15 years since Hellraiser actually had a movie that came out in a theater. This movie only got one movie screening in one theater, and it was only for a crew screening. The Weinsteins had been teasing a complete remake of the original Hellraiser from 1987 for a while, but they realized that their contract was almost up, so they had to rush this one out instead. This movie was essentially an ash can, which is a term for any movie or book that's created to establish a trademark or potential title. This movie took 3 weeks to film, and it honestly just kind of feels like a fan movie. Honestly, if it was a fan film, it'd probably be seen as like, bad, but not as bad as it is now that it's considered an official Hellraiser entry, brought up by 2 big Hollywood executives that only really made this film because they wanted to squeeze as much out of Hellraiser as possible to retain the rights to it. And listen, even though I think this movie is like hot garbage, I know that the director is very passionate about Hellraiser. Victor Garcia is actually someone who's done special effects work for Guillermo del Toro movies like Pan's Labyrinth, Hellboy, and The Devil's Backbone. He knows what it's like to work on a good film, and maybe he really wanted to make a good Hellraiser. And I honestly think he still could. Just hear me out. Guillermo del Toro. Get him and Victor Garcia to make a Hellraiser movie. If their past projects have told me anything, that would be a good fucking movie. Victor's problem was that he had such a limited budget and such a short amount of time to make the entire movie. And I think Doug dropping out at the last minute and not coming back as Pinhead, I think that really shook up this whole thing. I think it really fucked him up that he couldn't get the one thing that could have saved this movie. Because even though Deader and Bloodline and Hellseeker are also really bad, they got to have Doug. I would feel really fucking cheated if those directors got to work with him and I didn't. Especially since the guy literally filmed in Romania for 2 separate movies as the same character, but he didn't want to come out to America to film Pinhead for like 3 weeks. Yeah, I would feel a little disappointed too. And that's all I feel about this movie. It's just so disappointing, and I'm angry, but I'm holding off because I really don't want to be mean. Look, if you want to be mad at anyone, be mad at Harvey Weinstein, because that guy did 2 horrible things that immediately should send him to hell. Obviously, all the sexual assaults and making this movie. The cardinal sin. I wish him nothing but eternal suffering with Pinhead in hell. We're almost done. We're almost done. Come on, baby. Come on. So, this is Hellraiser Judgment, released in 2018. This is the last of the Hellraiser movies that will see newcomers to the franchise before we have the return of our Lord and Savior, Clive Barker. But I have to talk about this before I can talk about that. Hellraiser Judgment is not the absolute worst thing ever. I know, I'm just as shocked as everyone else. Even though this isn't like the worst thing ever, it's not a good Hellraiser movie. It has good ideas, it has ambition, and very effective moments that make your fucking skin crawl, and I love that. I love its interpretation of hell or the Cenobite's world or whatever. This is the most, like, grungy, gritty, disgusting of the Hellraiser movies. It's just not a good Hellraiser adaptation. And when I say that, I mean that this movie feels more like someone just took Clive Barker's work and kind of made it their own thing with their own rules and own world, and taking reference with the original by only having one Cenobite. Yes, there's only one Cenobite in this movie, and it's Pinhead, and all he does is just sit in a chair for the whole movie. Like, the Cenobites in this movie kind of just feel like cameos to the main story that they were trying to tell. Look, if you have something new that you want to say about, like, the Cenobites and Hellraiser and this world that Clive made, that's fine and all, but Judgment just kind of feels like Inferno, but worse. You know how I said that incorporating, like, Christianity or Abrahamic religions was never the point of Hellraiser, but I said that Inferno does that and I liked it? Well, this movie is an example of how incorporating, like, things like Christianity and religion doesn't fucking work. Hell, Judgment and Inferno literally have the same plot of solving murders that are influenced by Christianity. And then it's revealed that the main characters are responsible the whole time. But this sucks because unlike in this movie where all of the murders are taking place in, like, an interpersonal hell and it's supposed to be symbolic or whatever, this movie, the plot twist is just main character murderer. And that's it. This killer is inspired by the sins of the Bible, which is weird because they're on, like, 14 murders and there's, like, what, 10 commandments or something like that? Like, dude, you already reached your threshold, like, you can chill out. Anyways, so here's what we're working with. We have two detectives who are brothers teaming up with this chick to capture a serial killer known as the Perceptor, which makes me ask, like, this isn't like a movie issue, this is like a general, like, society issue. Why do we give serial killers, like, cool nicknames? Like, why are we running on fucking Batman logic? Like, they get cool code names like the Zodiac Killer, the Alligator Man, American Bluebeard. Those two are real, look it up. I mean, BTK? That just straight up sounds like a gang member's rapper name or something. Why do we do this? It is so weird. Anyways, so in this world, there are three labyrinth factions. The Cenobites, the Stygian Inquisition, and the Archangels. At this point, I don't think I need to explain what Archangels or the Cenobites are. If you want an explanation what Archangels are, just watch Wendigoon or something. But basically, the Stygians are like the Judgment of Hell or something. Basically, it's the director's kind of like Hellraiser fanfiction characters, and they kind of act as like a hell court or something. At the beginning of the movie, the Cenobites and the Stygians come together to discuss how, with advancing technology, gateways to hell like the Lament configuration have become obsolete. Therefore, their new plan is to band together to attract human souls. And their new way of doing this is living in a crack house. Somehow this works, and they lure Carl Watkins, a local pedophile, to their home to be interrogated, tortured, and murdered. Now, the Stygians are exclusive to only this Hellraiser movie, and they act like the final judgment of hell. Characters like the Auditor, who types out all of the confessions, the Assessor, who assesses the confessions by eating them and then vomiting, the Jury, who are these three naked women with their faces all fucked up, and then the Cleaners just make you drink their spit, and it's fucking disgusting. And finally, there's the Butcher and the Surgeon, who kind of ride each other like Ferritor, and they slash you up, and they give the Jury a bloodbath. And look, this is all cool and whatever. I just have one question. What the hell does any of this have to do with fucking Hellraiser? No, seriously, what does any of this have anything to do with this? Why isn't this just its own movie? Because you know what the Cenobites are doing throughout this whole movie? Pinhead is just sitting in a chair, the whole time. He's sitting in a chair, and they literally use the same shot of him, like, slouching back in this throne, like, twice. And then I guess he does some, like, sacrificing in the end, but that's literally it. That's all he does. This movie is not a good Hellraiser movie because it's not a movie about the Cenobites or their world. It's just about the Auditor and his Hell Court. You can tell that they really didn't want to make a Hellraiser movie because they made the Lament configuration obsolete. They made the staple MacGuffin of the Hellraiser movies obsolete. And they replaced this with a crack house. What are we doing? Let me put it to you this way. If you take Pinhead out of this movie and have the Auditor the main villain, nothing about this movie would change at all. That is how not a Hellraiser movie this is. It feels like they had an entirely new concept idea for this movie with like a mystery serial killer that murders based off the 10 Commandments. And then there's like hell in their court doing their swift vengeance in the background or something. Then the archangels intervene on behalf of the murderer because he practices Jesus or whatever. And I guess in this movie, the archangels just kind of run on the logic that even if you do terrible, horrible things, so long as you pray to Jesus before you die, you'll get into heaven or something. It's like a movie already existed and they decided to just throw Pinhead in there and just make it a Hellraiser movie. Shockingly though, that's not what happened. You see, Gary Tunnicliffe is actually a huge fan of Hellraiser, and he is actually incredibly close to the franchise. He was the makeup and special effects designer for Hellraiser Hell on Earth all the way up to Hellworld. This man has worked on 7 Hellraiser movies. And not only did he direct Judgment later, he also wrote the script for Revelations, but couldn't direct it himself because of a scheduling conflict. So you're telling me that the person responsible for writing this is directing this? Lord have mercy. Apparently, the idea for Judgment was always intended to be a Hellraiser project. However, Dimension Films weren't really interested in making a Hellraiser continuation after Revelations. Understandable. Especially not with the lead writer. Like, what was that guy doing? Also, however, Dimension Films didn't want to lose the rights to Hellraiser again. And in order to maintain those rights, they had to make movies under its label. Hell, when the concept for Judgment was pitched originally to the Weinsteins, it was proposed that Pinhead would be removed and just have this be a standalone project, that's exactly what the fuck I'm saying!
Mike Regan, who works with me, he said, that Judgment story is really kind of cool. Does it need to have Pinhead in it? And I was like, well, I guess not. And Mike Regan was like, that Judgment idea is kind of cool. Why don't you just take out the Hellraiser stuff?
He couldn't direct Revelations even though he wrote it, and now that the rights are back up for extension, Dimension Films needed Gary to do his job and write a movie script. And that's what he did, under the condition that he directed. And I have to emphasize again, all of this is Harvey Weinstein's fault. You wanna know why? You wanna know why this is his fault? You wanna know why? Because the motherfucker got caught sexually abusing women, and now the studio needed to release something to distract everyone, so they picked Hellraiser back up because before the scandal, Judgment got shelved. It was left in post-production for over a year after filming wrapped up in 2017. Those working on its post-production disagreed with most of the scenes that were filmed for the movie. Apparently, the original cut was more violent, more sexual, and because the studio didn't like that, they shelved it. Only for Harvey Weinstein to come out as a fucking rapist. And the movie was picked back up again, so once again, fuck Harvey Weinstein. Anyways, so Sean and David are brother buddy cops that are now on victim 14 of the Perceptor murders. We see this murder occur as this woman is knocked out by a person in all black and found with her dog sewn into her stomach.
It's okay. It's okay. Baby. The dog was her baby.
So he put it into her womb.
Which, first of all, no. Not only would that dog not have even, survived long enough to, burst out of her chest like a chest burster, but also just... No, what are you doing? Don't do that to the dog! Sean and David are teamed up with Detective Christine Edgerton to help them in bringing down the Perceptor. Edgerton. Meanwhile, we follow Sean around as he tries to find clues on his own front while Christine and David are doing, office stuff for most of the movie. There are scenes in between these moments of the Perceptor killing people, or they check out a crime scene, or the Stygians are like doing something. But to be honest, none of it really matters that much because this movie is also just kind of boring. And I wish I didn't feel this way about it because there are like plenty of scenes in here in like such a short amount of time that like I'm intrigued, but I'm also just so tired. There's obviously the world of the Stygians, but also everything that befalls upon Sean, where we learn more about him as a character. And that's great and all, and the movie is like short enough that I can like withstand that much information, but also the movie is just kind of nothing. I think the reason why I'm not like vibing with this one as much is because this has all kind of just been done before. You know, murder investigations, Cenobites, main character being a serial killer. Like, if I wanted to rewatch that, I would just watch Inferno. At least that movie is fun. I'm just kind of zoned out for this one. I will say, though, I don't think Sean being the Perceptor is, like, a bad idea. I just think that it's a little too on the nose. Like, I didn't have that, like, aha moment when it's revealed. It was kind of like, oh, well, okay, I kind of saw that coming, though. Like, no one just randomly quotes Charles Dickens, and it's not even, like, A Christmas Carol. Like, what are we doing? Every single crime scene has a complete lack of, like, any police, which, you know, normally I would question, but cops only have, like, a 37%, like, success rate in solving violent crime, so you know what? You might have a point. Get them the fuck out of here. Hints to Sean being the killer are littered throughout this movie. Unlike Inferno, where it was just kind of like shafted into like the very ending. But at the same time, this shit is so on the nose that it like fucking hurts. Why did Sean's confessional make the assessor choke? Why did it go on for so long? Oh, it's because he was confessing to all the crimes he did. Because why? Like, why is he doing that? Oh, his wife is upset that he wasn't home for her birthday on time. It's not because he was trying to solve the murder, it's because he was the one out murdering people. Also, he quotes the Bible very often in this movie because, you know, the killer is killing his victims based off the 10 Commandments. Which, again, if that's what you're doing, why are you on 14 people? Like, you can chill out now. You did it. It's over. But you get what I mean. It's so on the nose that it kind of treats you like you're stupid. But you know what's even dumber? David, his brother, is suddenly revealed to have been having an affair with Sean's wife. You know what? I'm starting to think that that YouTuber, like, cheating expose bit, it's not even a bit anymore. What the fuck is going on? Why is everybody cheating on everyone throughout this franchise? Like, can we relax? And the worst part is, this is not even indicated in any fucking way at all. Also, why does the Perceptor, like, hang up canvas, like, paintings of all of his victims? And these are, like, printed. Do you think the print shop just, like, were they not suspicious of this guy just, like, taking random creep shots of everybody? But the most unforgivable, dumbest thing that this movie does is have this fucking chicken here. This is Josephelle, and she is an archangel who is sent to protect Sean because apparently him killing based off the 10 Commandments, like, has him get this divine intervention from God?
There are matters at play here that are part of a bigger plan, and he is a part of it.
You want him out there on Earth. Or rather, he wants him out there. He wants his flock afraid of the wolf so that they look toward the light.
And this is the shit I mean when I say that religion and Cenobites don't fucking work. One of those reasons is that the Stygians and the Cenobites look like this, and this is just some lady. Like, if you, like, came down with a seraphim, I would understand. But this just looks fucking stupid. But the other reason is because of what I had stated earlier. The domain of the Cenobites and their whole philosophy is not to punish sinners or, like, torture them because they're bad or anything. They couldn't give a shit whether you're an angel of a person who, like, donates to charity and rescues puppies or an absolute fucking dickhead. They don't care. They just care about indulging in their own agenda of pain and pleasure. They're spreading their type of gospel to whoever seeks them out and opens the box into their domain. Tell me how that fits in the lexicon of fucking Christianity and heaven and hell. It really doesn't, unless you want to say that the Cenobites exist between heaven and hell, In which case, I don't know what kind of limbo looks like this. This is why this movie should not have been a Hellraiser movie. This movie should just be its own standalone movie with the Stygians as like the judgment system of hell and the angels. When you throw Hellraiser shit in there, it just doesn't fucking work. Especially if you want to do like the whole like angel stand by a murderer that commits sins in their name kind of shit, you know? Like Pinhead doesn't really do anything in this entire movie. He's just here to like sit in a chair and then kill the angel, and that's it. Like that's all he does. You can tell that the director was just kind of throwing his original ideas into Hellraiser shit because he's just playing the auditor in this movie. Yeah, no, the director is also playing the auditor. This is just his own little personal, like, Hellraiser fanfiction where he gets to be the main character. And I mean, it's not like that's a bad idea. It's just, it's not a Hellraiser movie. I will talk about the things I do like, though. I thought that Paul T. Taylor as Pinhead was actually really good. I'm glad that he made the character like his own thing.
Even if their costume was fucking garbage.
And also, you know, he doesn't look like this, so that's a plus. And I think the world building of the Stygians is pretty good. Again, it needs to be its own separate movie. And I like what they did with the Stygian and the Cenobite world being lit in like different colors. I think that's pretty cool. Like on a technical level, like this movie is just kind of fine. Like the acting is fine, the cinematography is fine. It's just like a passable thing like as a movie. Just not a Hellraiser movie, which is a relief given like what the fuck the last movie was. The weakest part of all of this is just the story. It's just like Seven, but Hellraiser, and it's just really boring. I've seen this plot done better in Inferno, and all of the religious aspects are also done better in that movie. Like if I wanted to watch a religious buddy cop movie, I would just watch Inferno. The murder investigation plot has been done before. The killer reveal as like the main character has also just been done before. It's all just rehash shit that they already did just to secure the rights again. They don't actually care about Hellraiser. They just want to hoard it to themselves. But fortunately, this didn't work as they lost the rights to Hellraiser after Weinstein came out as a rapist, which means that Clive can reclaim what is rightfully his. Finally, after 35 years of bullshit, we have our official reboot produced by Clive Barker and a bunch of other people we don't care about. But Clive is back, and that's all that really matters. Hellraiser 2022 was released exclusively on Hulu, which honestly is a pretty high honor given that the series was like stuck in direct-to-DVD hell for over 22 years. I mean, it's not a theater, but it is one of like the biggest streaming platforms, and it's being released early in October for Halloween. Oh, fuck yes! So, what did we think of the Hellraiser reboot? I loved it. I really love this thing. I really loved this. This movie, I think, fixes a lot of the issues I had with the first Hellraiser, which... Oh god, I didn't even talk about that. What was that, like fucking hours ago? Okay, so one of the issues I had with the first Hellraiser is the underutilization of the Cenobites. You don't really get to see them a whole lot in the original, and this is a problem even for like the other movies as well, but you also don't want to overuse them too much because then you get whatever the fuck Bloodline was. The longer I am led to believe that that movie just never happened, the happier I will be. I feel like there's an equal amount of like good human characters and Cenobites in this that you don't feel spoiled when you see them, but also you get to have enough time with the human characters. Also, the human characters are actually like fun to follow and likable. One of the things I love about Riley is the fact that everything with her character, aside from like a few things, does make sense for her character because she's a recovering drug addict for most of the movie. So her impulsive behaviors and decisions that you're yelling at her like, what the fuck are you doing? That's fucking stupid. But it makes sense if you understand that most of this movie, she's trying to like get her shit together and like her whole life is centered around trying to do whatever she can to impress everyone around her. She's a massive people pleaser through and going through. And so everything that she does in this movie is by the motivation of trying to appeal to someone else, until that final scene where she finally chooses for herself. I think she has good motivations that push her through the movie. I didn't feel like she was just kind of messing with the box and going on this journey for no reason, unlike in other movies. I genuinely felt sad when characters died because I liked them a lot to at least some extent. Although I feel like it was hard to relate to them on like a personal level, I just kind of liked them all as like a friend group, because just by themselves, they mattered very little in the grand scheme of things. But this movie would not be Hellraiser without the Cenobites, and these things are fucking awesome. What the twist to their designs is just how grotesque and uniquely obvious their modifications are. Unlike previous designs where a lot more is just focused in on the facial deformity, these are very focused on the whole body transformation. They strip them of their gimp suits and give them these like mutilated skin suits, and they look metal as hell. Let's talk about all of them, because I think every one of them has a significant amount of screen presence that gives them enough time to be admired and appreciated, and I want to talk about that. This is Pinhead, played by Jamie Clayton.
Mother, pregnancy, giving birth. Step on my balls, ruin my life. I love women.
Oh no, they trans my Pinhead. The left is taking over.
I'm an adult virgin.
Okay, but no, seriously, if you genuinely believe this, and you believe that there's like this leftist propaganda in entertainment, and that casting diversity is apparently like this DEI, like inclusion stuff, I'm gonna hold your hand in between a napkin when I say this to you. You sound like a 12-year-old. Grow the fuck up and watch this movie, because Jamie does an amazing job. You'd be missing out on a book-accurate Pinhead because, fucking newsflash, dumbass, Pinhead canonically is non-binary. I told you, these movies are gay as hell. Obviously, will this be as good as Doug Bradley? No. And at this point, I think it's not even fair to compare, because icon. The best you can do at this point is make Pinhead your own interpretation, because copying off of Bradley would be just embarrassing. And Jamie, I think, does really well in this role. I think she eats, I think she devours, I think she's scrumptious. Mwah. Would, absolutely would. Are you kidding me? In fact, all of the Cenobites are portrayed more so in this androgynous style. And sure, they are played by like femme-presenting actresses. However, they don't have any biological features that would really indicate that. They all remain relatively gender ambiguous, which is more accurate to the book, The Hellbound Heart. Pinhead is great, but my favorite out of all of them is this fucking thing. This is the mask, and it's fucking awesome looking. It's only briefly seen on screen, but oh my god, just the stretched face over the wire frame and all the wire works make it look like it's like this inner mechanism that's keeping it working. It is so fucking cool. Then there's this gorgeous thing called the Gasp. Its look is very much inspired by Angelique and the female Cenobite kind of mashed into one. And I think she's gorgeous. I just kind of personally believe that there's too much going on here. That's the one thing with these Cenobites I don't like all that much, is because the original designs were always simple but effective. They were intricate but not doing too much. And I think the problem is more heavily highlighted with the Weeper. The Weeper is fucking cool as hell, and this scene where their arms rip down and create like 4 arms, that's really cool. But at the same time, it does too much. I think the Weeper's like ripped face and chin is enough. I will say this though, I love how the Weeper sounds. In fact, all of the Cenobites have these great sound effects, and how they speak is very fucking horrifying.
Save your breath for scream.
The sound design of this movie is very reminiscent of Silent Hill. And I feel like Hellraiser as a franchise is really reminiscent of Silent Hill. And I feel like duplicating that style works really well. I liked this thing. You can barely really see this thing in the movie, but I liked it. I thought it was cool. And this thing right here is probably the only Cenobite that actually posed a real threat, like aside from the Chatterer. I love how the Asphyx is always like in this praying position and is always looking up and praying like towards the Leviathan. I thought that was a pretty cool detail. Also, another thing that makes this movie really fucking cool and gets me so excited, the labyrinth is back. Fucking finally! Also, I'm just gonna put this on screen, but here's all the artistic renditions for every single Cenobite. This concept art is really fucking cool. I like this. Oh, the Chatterer. My beloved. Oh my god. Look at my sweet baby boy. It looks like they took a head mold that they used to like cast silicone and just made it like the base of its design. And then the bottom half is just exposing everything. It's so fucking cool. Too bad they kill him. Rest in peace, my precious boy. These Cenobites lend itself to more creative freedom, considering that this leans more into the disfigurement and modification of a Cenobite, and the play on off of the Cenobites being obsessed with like flesh and experiencing like the limits of sensation. These designs fit into that pain and pleasure philosophy without being too obvious. What I'm saying is that the designs of the Cenobites put that whole philosophy in a whole new context, and I love them so much. It is all done with like practical effects and makeup and latex and silicone and mastery and just I love it. I can eat it all up. This movie did get nominated for Best Makeup Artistry and Design. It didn't win, which is fucking shameful because this is body horror art. That's the best way I can describe it, is it's body horror art. It is amazing. You know what I also haven't really talked about very much? I haven't talked about the music of Hellraiser. I mean, like, sure, Hellraiser isn't really well known for its music. I feel like its main theme is kind of like, gets forgotten about, like, in comparison to, like, Halloween or Friday the 13th or Nightmare on Elm Street. But Hellraiser has this, like, orchestral, distorted, like, church theme that is rehashed in the remake, and it is fucking awesome. Else is awesome about this movie? This movie changes the lore and the powers of the Lament configuration without those changes wanting to make me kill myself. The Lament configuration always kind of confused me because, you know, when I watched the movies up until this point, it always seemed like everyone could just kind of fuck with this thing by just rubbing it in the right places. I mean, sure, it twists and you can press things or whatever, but it never looked like it was too much of a hassle. Here, this thing actually like rotates and moves around like a real puzzle box. You also have to offer it blood and a human sacrifice in order to unlock all of its configurations, because there is more than just one in this movie, and each configuration means a different gift that the Cenobites can offer. They don't just offer pain and pleasure, they can offer knowledge, or love, or resurrection, or power, and all you need to do is solve the box and offer a sacrifice with each configuration. And once you get to the final configuration, that summons the Leviathan.
I am a penitent of the Leviathan.
Sunshine, lollipops, and... Oh, look, it's religious symbolism that doesn't take away from the original point of Hellraiser. Good, it's about damn time. All of the CGI, the gore, the scenes of, like, actual practical effects are the best that I have ever seen in these movies. They're pretty well done, and I love that the labyrinth also can just kind of open up wherever, even in a fucking car. That is hilarious. The functions of the labyrinth manipulate the world around you and take homage to MC Escher, and it's so fucking cool. It's not just hallways anymore, it's like stairs and shit and random openings in the ground. I love how the Cenobites work, I love how their world works, I love how the box works, I love this whole movie. It turned out so good. It is a massive improvement from the original movie, and I think it's really great. Overall, this is a really good final film, and I say final because unfortunately, because it went straight to streaming, it didn't make back its $14 million budget, which doesn't really mean all that much anyways because this was a Hulu exclusive, so the movie was already kind of paid off through streaming anyway, which, by the way, this movie was the most watched movie across all platforms in the United States during the first week of October. So overall, I think in terms of streaming, it's pretty successful, but there's not really a demand for more Hellraiser movies. Let me explain. It is 2 in the morning as I am wrapping up this video, and I'm gonna finish up this next part whilst taking all this stuff off because I'm so ready to be done. Ow. Ow. Look, as a fan of these movies who has come to appreciate it for what it is, for its body horror and its psychological horror, the creativity, the camp, the icon. The issue is, Hellraiser is very contained in one narrative, and the attempts to expand upon that narrative have just been so silly. Let's make the Cenobites separate from their human counterparts and get stuck in a statue. I'm sure that will go well. Let's let the Cenobites go to space. I'm sure that won't be fucking stupid. Let's have the Cenobites torture just one dude in particular. Let's do that for like 5 movies, actually. Let's have the Cenobites be fucking video game characters. Like, you get what I'm saying, right? When you try to make the Hellraiser movies anything besides, like, solve a box, Cenobites kill you, it just doesn't work. I mean, sure, there are ways to explain the Cenobite world or the functions of the box or the Cenobite's philosophy better, but the most you can do really is just like show how the world works and the many configurations of the box that can take shape. And that's really it. If you attempt to do anything more than that, you're just doing too much. But the audience also doesn't want to see the same movie over and over and over again. You can't always have solve a box, Cenobite kills you for every single movie, so you have to try something radically different. And when you do that, it makes the audience ask, well, what the hell does that have to do with Hellraiser? Oh, thank God. That was so goddamn painful. I can breathe again. Hellraiser is very contained in its narrative, and there's a lot of ways that you can try and expand that to answer more questions that an audience might ask, but at the same time, the answers actually make the story worse. Like, I can never get over the fact that this thing was made by the French. I just can't get over that. I also can't get over the fact that there's a whole family lineage attached to that, and it's apparently still going all the way into the near future. I can't get over the fact that a French descendant decided to start a suicide resurrection cult that literally has nothing to do with the box whatsoever. I can't get over the fact that the Stygians aren't their own fucking thing. It's all shit that just makes the world more convoluted than it needs to be. It doesn't need to be this messy and extensive. Just make people solve the box and get killed by Cenobites. It's not that complicated. But also, you can't do that for 11 movies in a row, even though they kind of did, so you have to overcomplicate everything. They have to do 2 different twists on the whole, like, personal hell thing. They have to send them to fucking space for any of this to be interesting and feel, like, fresh and new. I feel like if the first movie and Hellbound were the only movies to exist, then I'd be fine. I feel like most of us would be. Even if I did enjoy, like, Inferno and Hellworld, I don't think that those movies needed to happen overall. This franchise is not unsalvageable. I mean, clearly the remake shows that there can be a new direction it can go into, and I would honestly, love to see a continuation of just these things because I love them so much. It's just hard to make these continuations when it feels like we already have all the answers. Plus, most people are just sick of just watching this legendary movie franchise that changed the way we view horror and psychological thrillers to be bastardized over and over and over again. I just think that most people are tired. I'm tired. That's why I'm taking all this off. I mean, I had to watch 11 of these fucking things, and 4 of them were just fucking boring. The rest were either batshit insane, and I only really liked like 5 of them. It's definitely a franchise that is not for everyone. It's not even really for its own fans, if you think about it. It's just iconic, but it's floundering, you know? I hope they do find a way to expand upon at least like the 2022 world. I just don't know if you can really take Hellraiser seriously anymore. Also, Doug Bradley, can he come back in some capacity? That would literally heal my soul. Look, I don't care if he's 70. Our government is ran by 90-year-olds. Get him in the GIMP suit and put his fucking ass to work. Also, can we just have, like, more weird movies like Hellraiser come back? Like, I know I bitched about how these movies are fucking insane, but they're also just so much fun, and I just want more movies to be like this again, to be creative and insane, because, like, it's always these type of movies that have more artistic integrity and heart put into it than most. That's probably why I hyperfixate and talk about it as much as I do. So can you give me more, please? Oh my god, I have eyebrows again, yay! So yeah, that's the video. I figured since we talked about, like, all the Saw movies, we might as well talk about all the Hellraiser movies, because there's just as many movies, and it has just as many, like, plot twists and plot points and gore and blood and violence and all the murder. Anyways, I'm done. This was fun. I had to shave my head for yet another YouTube video. Like, I might as well be making some money for that, right? Maybe I'll do another one of these, like, horror movie retrospectives. So if you guys want to see, I don't know, like, Nightmare on Elm Street or, like, the Chucky franchise or something, just let me know in the comments below if that sounds, you know, interesting to you guys and you would like to see that. Thank you so much for being here. And remember, putting on all of that makeup took 4 hours. And if I were a lazier person, I wouldn't have had to rip off all of those spikes off my face, because that hurt. So remember to stay lazy. I'm gonna have to wash this off now, and that's gonna fucking suck. The end.